In 2001, a 19-year-old high school graduate named Nate Norman was living in his mom's basement in Idaho, delivering pizzas for Pizza Hut. His only exposure to organized crime was watching Scarface on cable TV. But everything changed when Nate and his best friend Topher were reading High Times magazine. Just across the border, Canada had legalized medical marijuana, sparking a golden age for British Columbia's world-famous BC Bud. Realizing the best product in the world was just a few hours away, Nate looked at Topher and said, "We need to become international drug smugglers." To fund their first run, Topher sold an old boat he pulled from a lake for $1,400. They drove to a Canadian bar, met an old man named Frankie, and blindly handed over their cash for a pound of weed, without even looking at it. To cross the border, Nate drove the car while Topher hiked 7 miles through the Canadian wilderness with the weed in his backpack, trying to avoid grizzly bears. They soon realized Frankie had scammed them with cheap Mexican weed, but the demand in Idaho was so high that their charismatic friend, Scuzz, easily sold it on the streets for $2,800. They had just doubled their money. Nate quickly did the math. They could make $3 million in 14 months by doubling their money on every run. They found real BC growers and scaled up the operation. The money poured in, and they needed more help, eventually hiring 32 of their high school friends. At their peak, these nerds smuggled over 17,000 pounds of weed, generating an unbelievable $32 million. Despite promising to stay low-key, the money went to their heads. Nate bought an 8-bedroom mansion, an Escalade on 24-inch rims, and started dating a stripper named Buffy. When his mom asked about the money, he claimed he started a snowplow business and bought her a lakeside house. But they weren't the only teen kingpins in town. A 17-year-old honor student and rival dealer named Vang, real name Brendan Butler, wanted a monopoly on the market. Vang hired a guy named Giovanni to assassinate Nate for $100,000, promising a $5,000 upfront payment. But Giovanni never got his advance. Instead of killing Nate, Giovanni and his crew robbed Scuzz's house, stealing cash and weed. Later, Vang took Giovanni to the woods to show him where to bury Nate's body. When Giovanni asked for his money again, Vang brushed him off. Enraged, Giovanni strangled Vang to death and left his body in the very spot meant for Nate. Unaware of Vang's death, Nate became incredibly paranoid. He started sleeping with a gun, broke both his arms in a crash, and developed a severe painkiller addiction. On November 13, 2002, a lumberjack found Vang's body. The police dug deeper, the DEA closed in, and Nate's runners started getting arrested. Realizing his friends were facing federal time, the 19-year-old kingpin walked into the police station and surrendered. The cops were stunned. They expected a hardened cartel boss, not a nerdy kid. The consequences caught up with everyone. Giovanni received a life sentence for the murder of Brendan Butler, Scuzz and Topher each got 2 years in prison, and Nate Norman was sentenced to 12 years. Nate was released in 2013 and now runs a legal HVAC business. Tragically, Topher was killed in a shootout in February 2019. It's a wild reminder of how fast life can change. One day you're a high school nerd, and the next you're running an international empire.
Remember that time